Right before I pressed record, a voice inside me said, "Who do you think you are?" That voice almost won, and this episode is about why it didn't. Welcome to the Wild Wisdom Way, a memoir and podcast unfolding in real time as I embark upon the journey of getting real as fuck. As I move through the gritty, raw, and deeply vulnerable acts of writing my memoir, I'm inviting you inside the mess, inside the meaning, and inside those magic moments that cracked me wide open. This podcast speaks to the very human experience of how storytelling becomes a path back to ourselves and each other. Each episode weaves together personal narrative, reflection, and lived insights from the edges of growth. This is about wisdom that reveals itself one wild step at a time. My name is Stephanie. Let's walk together. In this first episode, I'm naming the very thing that almost stopped this project before it began. Before the writing, before the microphone, before the courage, there was doubt. A lot of it. The voice that I kept hearing inside was, who do you think you are to write a memoir? Who are you to create a podcast? Who's going to listen? Who's going to read? Who's going to give a fuck? And so this episode is an honest look at the inner resistance that shows up right before we step into truth, authenticity, vulnerability, that self-sabotage that wants to say, no, we're not going there. We're not going there. It's terrifying. This isn't an episode about having all the answers. It's about standing at the threshold, feeling the self-doubt, feeling the self-sabotage, feeling the fear, and doing it anyway. Why? Because there's a feeling deeper inside, deeper than the fear, deeper than the voices of self-doubt, self-sabotage, worry, and fear. There's something deeper within that is saying, go. Now. It's time. And so it's standing at that threshold and saying, voices, I hear you, and I'm doing this anyway. So you either come along for the ride or get lost. And sometimes those voices of self-doubt can show up as a feeling that we need to have everything figured out, cleared, healed, perfected in order to get to a place where we can express it. And sometimes that self-doubt masquerades as perfectionism. You know, the kind of perfectionism that stops you from doing the thing you know you want to do at the deepest level of your being because it says, not yet. Fine tune. We're not there yet. No, not yet. Not. Yep, there's still some things to perfect. And so this episode is for anyone who's ever felt the call to step into a body of work, a creative expression, a new way of being that feels expansive. It feels like a stretch, and yet you know it's time. But there's fear, there's self-doubt, there's self-sabotage, there's a boatload of vulnerability involved. And perhaps you found yourself frozen in fear of exposure, or the belief that it's just not time to claim your voice yet. My friends, this episode is for you. And I'm not starting this memoir in motion because I'm fearless. It's because I'm done letting fear guide my decisions. And this is where the wild wisdom begins. All right, so let's back this up to the beginning of where this project began and what was going on in my journey of getting to this place here and now. I've been told for many, many, many years now that I should write a book. People tell me that the life I've lived is so different from the status quo and from what most people know that I should write a book about it. And I was always like, I don't Like, who am I? Who am I to write a book? And this year, as I'm recording this here and now, I'm only 40 years old. I'm not even at the halfway point in life. And I always thought memoirs were for famous people and elders. You know, people who have gotten to some place of immense success or some place of elderhood where they're near the end of their life and they can look back, reflect, and have this like pinnacle of wisdom. And we just want to gather around the fireplace and listen to them. I'm not that. I'm only 40 years old. And for me, that feels young. And yet I feel like I've lived lifetimes, many, many, many lifetimes within this lifetime. And there's a sense, and what I've been feeling inside is there's a new chapter coming. I can't fully name it yet, but there's a new chapter coming. It's blank. It's a blank slate, my friends. And I feel, and my body's been telling me that in order to step into this next chapter, I've got to let some stories out. It's like clearing space to receive more. And I noticed that these stories, they live in my body. They're taking up space in my body. They're taking up space in my energetic field, in my mind. It's time to release them. And a lot of these stories are bringing up emotions and trauma in my body and feelings of and so the process of even sitting down to write these things down has been tremendously triggering. And yet I know that it's necessary. It's necessary to get these stories out because every single one of these life experiences that I've lived in this wild wisdom way that has been my path, they've all been gifts. Even and especially the most messed up moments, they've all been gifts. And I feel that with gifts, it's like we can only hold on to so much. You know, eventually we got to give those gifts back to the world. And so this memoir feels in my body like a giving back. It's like, okay, these stories that have worked me in all the ways, they've shaped me in all the ways, these life experiences have brought me to this moment here and now. It's time to give them back and to give them to the world, because I know that you will see yourself in some of these stories, and that when you hear these stories, you're going to go, oh, that resonates with a moment that I'm going through. And to hear someone speak about it from the other side of the experience reminds me that I too can get through this, that I too can start to find my voice and to step into a more sovereign, empowered, authentic way of being where I feel lit the fuck up. So if anything, these stories are for you for that reason. But let's go back to this fear that I was facing of who are you? What can you possibly have to share? You're not old enough. You're not elder enough. And you're not famous enough. Who's going to read your book? Who's going to watch your podcast, listen to your podcast? And so these little like nagging voices were inside me, and they kept holding me back. I would go to start writing. I would hear these voices. No. Nobody's going to, who cares? Nobody's going to want this. What are you wasting your time for? And I would pull back and stop. And then one day, and this is literally how it happened, my friends. One day, I woke up in the morning and all the stories were in my mind. It was like they were rapid fire moving through my brain. And I realized if I don't get these stories out now, if I don't do this thing that's been wanting to move through me for a long time now, I'm going to go crazy. This is like how the creative process feels. It's like if I don't get this out of me, if I don't birth this, I'm going to go crazy. It's been gestating too long. You know, it's like when a woman's holding a baby in her womb for longer than 9 months, she starts to get a little agitated, like, okay, let's get on. Let's get on with the birthing process here, right? There's only so long we can be in that gestation. And so this is the birthing process in real time. So I'm sharing this because it's a fascinating thing. Most people share podcasts about books they've written after having written and published and achieved some level of success with their memoir or their book. I'm going about this a totally different way. And that's what the wild wisdom way is, my friends. The wild wisdom way is like, feel into what feels right for you. Don't let anybody tell you what's appropriate for you, and walk your path with as much freaking enthusiasm and love and curiosity and wonder as you possibly can. And so it's become really clear for me that this podcast is meant to be moving with the process of writing a memoir. That's why I'm calling this a memoir in motion, my friends. So as I write the book, as I get these stories out of me, yesterday I was in tears writing one of the stories. The other day I was shaking my body, getting some of the like immense feeling out. It's an intense process. And I want to share this process with you along the way. Because my whole journey, my whole like wild wisdom way is all about working with people, women specifically, in terms of claiming their voice, stepping into that embodied wisdom that's always been there, but we ignore it, and starting to speak, express, sing, and create from a place that feels so real, so juicy, so alive, so magnetic. And it's like, yes, this is it. So this is my big work with women. I do Empower Your Voice coaching. I have a signature Empower Your Voice process, and I do Embody Your Wild Wisdom coaching as well. And it's very somatic based. And so what I want you to see and feel in this process is the very visceral, somatic sense of going through a creative process that is all about stepping into truth and authenticity. So maybe you're there. Maybe there's like something in your life where you're like, okay, it's calling me in. I don't fucking want to go there. It feels edgy. It feels like, yeah, not yet, not yet. If you ever like stood at the edge of, well, a cliff or even a balcony in a high rise that's like up at a significant height, and you look down and you feel your stomach drop, and it's like, oh my gosh. This is the feeling I think a lot of us get when we're about to step to the edge of what's been familiar for us. And we're like, okay, I'm ready to cross that threshold, and I'm terrified, and all the voices in my head are telling me not to. But do I listen to those voices in my head? And how do I discern what's true for me? So let's talk about these voices of worry and doubt, and these voices that are constantly critiquing us inside. It's like we have our own inner critic that's micromanaging everything we're doing and saying, not good enough. No, no, you suck. You're no good. Don't even bother. No one's going to care. You know, these voices that are inside of us. Over the past few decades, through my mindfulness practice and my somatic practice, I've been getting really curious about the root of those voices. Where do they come from? If you think about your being, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, like a garden, a fucking gorgeous garden, by the way, but think about your being as a garden. And somewhere along the way, without you even knowing it, someone came along and sprinkled some seeds in that garden. Some of those seeds are things that you want to cultivate. They're helpful for you. They're beautiful for you. You can eat them, smell them, enjoy their presence. Some of those things are not. So where do these seeds come from? Well, sometimes our parents, anyone who's in our sphere of influence when we're growing up and at a very young, impressionable age, some of it's ancestral. It's been like rooted down, way down deep in our DNA. Some of it's cultural. It's what we learn in school. It's what we learn from society. Someone somewhere might have told you, I don't like your voice, or you can't sing, or you're not creative, Or don't bother getting into art. You'll never make money doing art. These little voices that we hear along the way, oftentimes we're not fully conscious of it, but those are planting seeds in our garden. Those seeds grow roots, and those weeds grow up from those seeds. What is a weed? A weed is just something we do not want in our garden, right? Something that's not beneficial to the ecosystem of our garden. And so these seeds have been planted inside of us. We all have them, right? We all have these little voices that have grown roots, and they're blossoming up to be seen and heard. And we're like, whoa, where the fuck did you come from? Whoa, what's all this self-doubt about? Whoa. And suddenly we've got a garden full of self-doubt. Yeah. Suddenly we've got a garden full of anxious worry or micromanaging constant critique. And so our work, my friends, if you're up to the task, first of all, is just to notice, oof, I've got some weed in my garden. Not weed, I've got some weeds in my garden. Maybe you have weed in your garden. Maybe that's okay. But I got some weeds in my garden, and all right, I got to start pulling some of those weeds out one by one. So how I do this is every time I notice that like inner critic start to speak up that says, you'll never be good enough. Don't even bother. I'm like, I see you. I hear you. Let's call you nagging inner critic. All right. I hear you, but you are not welcome in my garden. It's like we've just picked out a weed. I hear you. I see you. Thank you for allowing me to notice you, and you are no longer welcome in my garden. And we do that consciously every time. And sometimes it might not be possible. Sometimes we just don't have the capacity to pull those weeds out in that moment. But just reciting that phrase, just noticing and naming it and saying, you are not welcome in my garden. And you could even envision yourself pulling that self-doubt, nagging critic out of your garden, out of your mind, out of your body. You might even want to notice, where does that live in your body? I've been getting very tuned into when I hear those voices popping up that says, you're not good enough. I'm like, okay, where do I feel that in my body? Ooh, I feel that in the side of my neck and in my shoulder. Ooh, you're not good enough. Ooh, there's tension there, and it's like kind of weighing on me, you know? And so maybe I need to move that. Maybe I need to get that stretch, shake, dance, get a massage, help it move through the body. Because we don't just live in our heads, folks. We are embodied beings, and these voices live not only in our minds, but in our bodies. And so the more we can do to see them, notice them, pull them out of our garden, unwelcome, and then like let some space into our garden, move, get a little space going there so that, all right, that weed cannot come back. We got every little tendril of every little root out of our garden. So as we start to get more intimate with the roots of these unhelpful voices that move through us in moments where actually we need some helpful voices, we need a little more support on our team as we're crossing these thresholds and standing at the edges of our own becoming, we need a support team. So as we start to get intimate with what we don't want in our garden, let's start to cultivate what we do want in our garden. What I want in my garden is truth, honesty. I want beauty and abundance and joy, laughter. I want the ability to feel it all without getting stuck in any of it. I want that in my garden. And I want the courage and the confidence to step into what feels like a full fuck yes in my body. That's what I want to cultivate in my garden. So how do we cultivate these things in our garden? Maybe you want something different in your garden, and I encourage you to ooh, what do I want? What do I desire in my garden? What do I want to cultivate? And then we got to look into, okay, how do I nourish those soils? How do I nourish the soils of my being so that what I desire has space to grow in my garden, has all that it needs to grow in my garden? So if I want more truth and honesty in my garden, fuck yeah. Who doesn't? Well, sometimes we think we don't want truth and honesty in our lives because it's really uncomfortable at first. But I guarantee you, once you step into it, it's worth it. Side note. So, how do I cultivate truth and honesty in my garden? Well, it starts with getting really honest with myself. I'll share a story relevant to that that's going to be in my memoir. And I'm like, so on edge about putting this out into the field. But here we go. Here it is for the first time ever, before the book even comes out. I was married. I got married when I was 27. Beautiful man. We had a really sweet, loving, complementary relationship until we didn't. And we were married. We had bought a house and we were looking to start a family. He was looking to start a family. He was much older than me, 15 years older. So he was almost 40. No, at this point now he's 42. I'm 27, 28. We've just gotten married and we're exploring the idea of starting a family. I was going along with this because I thought that's what we do. We're in love. We bought a house. We just got married. That's the next logical step. You have kids, right? And so I was going along with it and following that path, even though there was resistance in my body. And when I look back now in hindsight, now that I know what that feels like in my body, I know there was so much resistance in my body. And so we were trying, keyword trying, for about a year and a half. It felt very trying, to be honest, all that trying. And after a year and a half, nothing, no pregnancy, we went to fertility doctors and they couldn't find a biological reason. They're like, we're not really going to intervene with anything. You both have what it takes to make a baby. And let me tell you, that hit. I went on a silent meditation retreat and I started getting quiet, still, and I started letting the truth enter my field of awareness. I started to allow myself to feel what I had been keeping repressed way down low so that nobody would see my resistance, my anxiousness, my unwillingness to go along with this thing that on the outside I was willing to. And the voice inside me, the voice of truth, started speaking really clearly. And here's how I felt and knew that it was a voice of truth. Because I felt viscerally in my body an aha moment when I heard this voice within me. It was like, I can breathe again. That's what I felt when my inner voice of truth started speaking. It didn't feel like anxious or contracted or tight or it just felt like expansive, like, oh, I can breathe. Wow. Finally, I can breathe. And this voice told me very clearly that deep down, I don't want to have children. That's not my path. And I knew at that moment that this married life was not for me either. There was a lot of lies I had been telling myself to fit in, to go along with the status quo of what we do in society. We follow 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4, 5 step door. So I got honest with myself, and it was not easy to allow that truth to move through me that actually this is not my deepest desire. And then to name that to my husband at the time, which was the beginning of the end of our marriage and the beginning of a massive transformation in my life when I really started to step out into my path of truth. And so sometimes when we're cultivating our garden and we're cultivating those inner voices that are helpful, that are true, that are taking us to a place of expansion, growth, love, illumination, sometimes we got to put the work in, and it can feel uncomfortable. So bringing this back to a very embodied reference, stretching, when we first embark on any stretching journey, maybe a yoga asana practice or another stretching practice, it feels uncomfortable at first because we recognize how tight we are, and to elongate those muscles feels really uncomfortable until it doesn't, until we stretch into that new way of being, and that becomes our new normal. So first we might be really contracted and tight and staying small and rigid and all contracted and tight, and then we start to stretch a little, more, and it's like, whoa, I don't know, this feels weird, this feels unfamiliar, and then we stretch a little more, and oh, this feels, this feels possible. This feels good. Oh, why didn't I do this sooner? So for me, this memoir in motion, The Wild Wisdom Way, sharing these stories, becoming really vulnerable, really raw, trying to not give a fuck what anybody thinks and just trust in the sharing of these stories. It feels like a stretch. It feels like a stretch, and all the little voices of doubt have come up as I stand at that threshold of stretching into that expansive state of just allowing these stories out. It's uncomfortable. And I think I'm sharing this because I want you to know that if you are in a moment of standing at a threshold, getting ready to stretch into a new way of being, a new body of work, a new version of you, a new expression, a new creative project, yeah, it feels uncomfortable. And yet, I'm going to guess you're feeling a yes inside that is taking you there anyway. It's like that true yes inside, it moves us. And we can resist and we can fight it, and we can entertain those little voices that come up to try to sabotage us and stop us from stepping fully into that yes. But those voices are only coming up to stop us and sabotage us because they're threatened by the unfamiliarity of the situation. When something's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. Our nervous system is like, whoa, don't know what's going on here, not sure if this feels safe, so I'm going to inject a whole bunch of worry into the situation now. And this is primal. This is like our body, our nervous system, our mind is trying to protect us from harm, because what is unfamiliar is seen as harmful. And so this is where titration, as in any practice of releasing trauma or any practice of mobility, strength training, or stretching the body, Titration is important. And titration is you move a little to the edge. You see what that feels like. You just like, it's like taking a microdose of getting yourself comfortable. And then you pull back and just let your nervous system integrate that. Let your body integrate that. And then the next time you step to the edge and maybe you step a little further, just a little, and you feel it. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm feeling the discomfort, feeling the stretch. All right, good. Pull back a little, integrate. Next time I step a little further. And again and again and again. And this process of titration is allowing us to learn to trust in that expansive or unknown realm that we are stepping into, and to trust that it's safe. Essentially, we're learning to trust our intuitive guidance, and we're learning to live in that space. So if you feel yourself at a threshold, I encourage you, titrate. Titrate back and forth from that edge a little further each time, and just see how that feels in your body. And notice the voices that come up along the way. Acknowledge them. Name them. Hey, girl, micromanager, I hear you. And you are not welcome in my garden. And thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I got this. I got this. And now I'm going to invite my support team, my allies on board. And that's the voice of inner wisdom, the voice of truth, the voice of knowing. I'm going to bring my heart online in an embodied way. This is maybe going on a tangent, but here we are. We're tangenting. So a lot of spiritual folks are like, ignore the mind, get out of the head, get out of the intellect. Yes, and our intellect is such an incredible gift. Our brain, our mind, it's such an incredible gift. Yet most of us spend all our time just there. We're just in the head. It's like we don't have a body, we don't have a heart. Or at least we're not even noticing, paying attention to, and honoring and respecting and loving our body and our heart. We're all up in the head. When we start to integrate our body and our heart, we can bring the mind online with the body and the heart so that the three are working together. It's like a team. You've got your whole team on board. It's like, all right, mind, I hear you. I hear your fear. Thank you for voicing your concern. Now, heart, what do you have to say about that? All right, I hear you. You're feeling a very strong yes. Great. Thank you for letting me know. I'm going to check in body. Body, how you feeling? What's going on over here? All right, you're feeling some nervous energy, but also some excited energy, but you're feeling you're capable. Yeah, you're capable of this. We're ready. Okay. All right, team, let's go. So when we get our whole team online, body, mind, heart, we allow the soul song of life to move through us. What is the soul song of life? This is the voice of truth, the voice of wisdom, the voice of illuminated understanding. I don't feel like I know where to go from here. This happens sometimes when walking the wild wisdom way. You get to a moment where you just look around and you go, oh, here I am. Don't know how I got here, but wow, here I am. Actually, I do know how I got here because I was fully embodied and present every step of the way. And yet, wow, I'm in a new territory. And sometimes before taking that next step forward, allowing ourselves to just be here and now as we arrive. This very much unscripted podcast is an interesting experiment because here I am, having been fully embodied and present in what just wanted to flow through me as expression in relation to what's coming up in my creative process and wisdom process with this memoir. And now here we are. And I really feel like there's nothing more to say. So let's wrap it up, folks. If you're feeling into taking that tender first step, try my free empowerment ritual. It's online, it's simple, accessible, a 25-minute set of daily practices that can help you to rise and thrive in an empowered way. I'm going to put the link in the description, but you can also comment free ritual and I'll send you the link directly. Thanks so much for walking this wild wisdom way with me. If you're feeling along your own path that you're walking towards greater authenticity, more empowered expression, and fully embodied wisdom, you're in the right place. And if this feels resonant, please share your love by subscribing, liking, and sharing this channel with your loved ones. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. How's this landing in you? What feels alive for you? What's moving through? Let's talk about it. See you in the next episode. Much love.